The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production.
Kev, I thought you were going to be sat in front of me, but you're not. You're still sat in Malmesbury. The whole point of this was that we would be together again.
I couldn't bring myself to be in the same room as you. It just didn't feel right.
Oh, dear. Well, in the end, I mean, I did some work, as you know, yesterday, and all the gear, I was going to have to deep cleanse where you were going to sit, because all the gear I brought back from this place is sitting where you would be sitting. And now I'm just waiting to deep cleanse it all, you see. Deep clean it all, cleanse it all, or whatever the expression is. So you've kind of done me a favour. But I thought you'd be here, Kev. Where's my Kev? How are you? All right?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm okay. Plodding on.
Here we go. Back for Mondays.
The FujiCast.
Yes. Well, the show that Kev said I need to do this when we come back. The show that was once daily is now weekly again. As it was, normal service. Well, sort of normal service resumed. It doesn't feel much like normal service to me. What does it feel like to you, Kev?
Feels exactly the same as when we were doing the dailies, frankly.
It does.
I'm still sat here staring out my window, looking at the people going by with their masks.
Oh, they're wearing masks in Malmesbury now?
Some of them do, yeah. Some of them do.
Is that just to get past your place?
Yeah, that's right.
We're going past the Mullinses. Put your mask on, boys and girls.
All those dogs and guinea pigs. Guinea pig.
Well, you lost a guinea pig, didn't you, in that time?
Yeah.
Yeah. No more. Is the other guinea pig still alive, by the way? Because it was sneezing, wasn't it?
He's okay. Yeah, he's good.
Made him a
pouring with rain today, though.
What, sorry? It's what?
Pouring with rain.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I think I can hear it.
Beautiful the last few days.
Let me listen. Hold on, let me listen. Yeah, I can hear the rain outside the window. Yeah. It has been.
I wasn't lying.
No, I wasn't doubting. But it has been beautiful. What's happened with the weather?
I will be in trouble, though, because that just reminded me that I was meant to bring the washing in.
That's normally my trick. Sam gets home from teaching at lunchtime. Did you bring the washing in? She knows damn well I didn't bring the washing in because she walked past it on the way to the back door. I was saying, I was on a phone call with Kev.
Yeah, well, I'm going to blame you too. I'm going to say, Neil wanted to do the podcast early. I'm really sorry. You blame me, I'll blame you, and then we're safe.
That's it. And then they'll talk later by text. Did you say no? Anyway, so we're back to doing questions. So we'll have our regular questions. We do need your questions, by the way. Send them in to click@fujicast.co.uk. Really, really important that you keep sending your questions in. They are the lifeblood of the show. We're back to Mondays. We're back to the regular style of show, although there's no book this week. We'll be back to books. Hopefully, Kev's going to bring in a tome when he does eventually make it down the M4.
I tell you what I did during the lockdown is I did a Kickstarter for Hoxton Mini Press.
Right.
So they needed some funds. So I backed them, and they raised about £35,000 in the end, which I think is great. Yeah. So I'm waiting for. I think I've got 10 books coming.
What was the project? What did you back?
I backed them to survive, basically, because they were really struggling. So they did a Kickstarter, and you could back to a certain, there were certain levels. I think I donated or submitted or backed to the tune of £100, near enough, and that gave me 10 books to the value of nearly £200. So win-win. Everyone's a winning chicken dinner. So I'm waiting for those to turn up. And I'm really excited because actually, out of the package, there was only one that I'd already had. So
no, you so it was a bit of potluck. Which titles you got, was it?
No. They were in the list, so I knew which ones I was going to get. So there was one section called the London section. Yeah. So that's the one I backed. So there was others also. There was one that was, I think, something like £1,000, and you got every one of their books. I was desperate for that. Yeah. But then I realised, actually, I need to feed the kids. That's probably more important.
Couldn't you just sell the kids for a couple of months or something? Yeah. Send them to the workhouse.
Actually, I wouldn't have anywhere to put the kids. I've had all those books.
That's true, yeah. So there we go.
Sleep in a drawer.
Yeah. Right, okay, so we're going to do questions, and then today's interview is with James Lipman. Now, James is an interesting chap because he's a British photographer that shoots cars. Oh, it does wonderful pictures, Kev, of cars. He loves cars, so it's exactly up his alley, as it were. But then he and his wife-to-be at the time decided to up sticks and move to America, to California. And now so he's gone through the process of getting the green card, all that kind of stuff. And I think it makes an interesting interview. So it's James Lippman. He's shooting cars in America now, and obviously not in the UK anymore. So an interesting story of moving your business from the UK to America. Right, let's go for the questions. Do you want to start?
I will. So we have a question straight up from Steve Pereira, who is in Petersfield in Hampshire, United Kingdom. I know that now because on the new website I have a little form where it says, tell us where you're from, so we don't have to guess so much. Yeah. Anyway, Steve goes on to say, my question is, overall, how do you see the opportunities of wedding and other photographers to expand into other revenue-generating streams to enable them to survive and, more importantly, thrive what will surely be a different environment going forward? He goes on to say, I've seen a lot of initiatives in relation to online courses, with the most recent being the F4 team, which is Thomas Heaton, Gavin Hardcastle, Adam Gibbs and Nick Page. I know those guys. Launching a multi-episode, multi-format tutorial on landscape photography. What a title. Multi-episode, multi-format. Yeah. Do you think this is going to be the norm for various different types of photography going forward? Collaboration, online courses, professional script, video work, etc., etc.
Right. Where do you start? Where do you start with that one? There's several questions there.
Yeah, well, I desperately don't want to get too negative about the future of the certainly wedding photography industry. However, I think we do need to prepare ourselves for a very bumpy ride. Once this meanie is back in its jar, I think then we'll have to deal with severe kind of financial restraints in the economy. Lots of people losing their jobs, and lots of people are going to be spending a lot less. However, once we are back out of the mix, then hopefully things will be back to normal pretty soon. And I think there has been forever, this isn't a new thing, there's always been online courses and workshops and of course YouTube, etc. And I think the F4, I've never seen them termed as the F4 team, but it seems like a reasonable name to me. They've obviously put together some kind of online package, and there is a lot of those. You have things like Creative Live and all that kind of started this off. But there's Phil White, for example, our videographer buddy. He has one online. I think it's called the Phil White Documentary Filmmaking Workshop or something, and it's you sign up and it's something like 30 hours of video tutorial, and good for him. Hopefully it's kind of helped him out of a little bit of a hole, and I'm sure that the content is excellent. And that brings me to the point: the content. The content needs to be excellent. If you're going to charge people for this stuff, those guys, Tom Heaton, Gavin Hardcastle, Adam Gibbs and Nick Page, of course, are excellent. So I have zero doubt.
They know their thing, don't they?
There's a lot out there that is less so, however, I would say. If you are thinking of doing something like that, first of all, I think you have to be in the situation where you've got enough reputation, not so much reputation, but experience, I think is probably the right word, to have the content, to have the educational aspirations, the knowledge, the practicalities of passing information on also is really important. There's no point doing something like this just because you think it's going to be a quick buck. You have to do it absolutely properly, and people have got to get value for money out of it for sure.
Well, the value is the most important thing there, isn't it? If you've got credibility like all those names you just mentioned, then the credibility is going to be there. I think another point was that more people are doing collaborations to train. And I think that's quite interesting, because whereas Phil White's course is about Phil, it's hosted by Phil, it's everything that Phil knows. You're now looking at 4 really top landscape photographers there joining together, which makes it instantly, well, I would say, if the price is right, come on down. More of a sort of no-brainer, to use a cliche, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you totally, especially for landscapes, because essentially, even if this thing goes on for 18 months or so, which hopefully it won't, but if it does, you are going to be able to go out and photograph landscapes. Yeah. So for weddings, I think slightly different in terms of, if wedding photographers are not earning any money, are they likely to be spending money on this kind of educational stuff? Perhaps they will, perhaps they won't. Who knows? But it's the collaboration stuff is good. It's good to see. It's good to see people thinking outside of the box.
Yeah,
for sure.
Let's not forget the hustle crew, because wedding photographers may not be spending money at the moment, but those that are going to see things like portraits, things like weddings, as being a second income that know nothing about it at the moment. Now, that might frighten you and I to death, Kev, because we're thinking when we come back, we've got to contend with an awful lot of newer photographers in the industry that are seeing wedding photography as a sideline hustle. Now, you either decide that you think, right, I want to train these folks because if I don't, somebody else does. Or you sort of put your head in the sand and hope it'll all go away.
For me, I think it's a little bit of that. Yeah, absolutely. There's a little bit of kind of fear factor. I mean, I spent a lot of time doing SEO workshops and things like that, and I do very few of those these days purely because a couple of people specifically basically came and took all of the information and then set up exactly the same workshop, pretty much word for word. One of them even put all my notes on eBay.
No, wait. I mean, I know people repackaged essentially what you taught.
Yeah, and of course, I'm not the first person to run an SEO workshop, but yeah, there's ethics involved with that. But you know, the important thing is that you have a ambition not only to, yes, you want to make money and you want that to be part of your business plan, but also you must absolutely have the ambition to educate people to go forward and do things properly. If your ambition is purely just to make money with no real consideration for the industry as a whole, then it's not good practice. I always remember speaking to Zach Arias once in, I don't know where we were, either somewhere abroad anyway, and he said, look, you know, I'm never going to photograph the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine, but if one of my students photographs the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine, I'll feel like I've done my job. Yeah. And that's important, right? Because, you know, I've been to workshops, I've paid for online courses where ultimately it's just, you know, go to the next stage, go to the next stage, go to the next stage. And it's always more money. You know, I'm just holding everything. I'm just holding the key things back just until you give me a little bit more money, just until you give me a little bit more money. And then the key thing at the end is nothing. It's a nondescript. So I feel, you know, you said value for money, very important, but also with the with the caveat that especially if it's the business side of things, that you're educating people much like a teacher does in school. They're educating people to do good in the future, not purely just to make an income. There's a real big difference, and I feel that some of the guys and girls who, you know, start off and they may be very, very good at photography and stuff, but then immediately, almost within a few months, it seems in some cases, they're running workshops and courses, and they haven't got the time. They haven't built up the business knowledge. They haven't built up the ethical elements of that part of the business. And it's purely because they just want to make more money. Money, which, of course, we all want to do.
What is that magic number, do you think? I mean, I was writing something for my...
1 million. I'll do anything for $1 million.
No, I didn't mean that. What is the right amount of experience? I was writing a script for my new daily podcast. And in it, I was talking about being a wedding... It's gone out now, so for those that subscribe to both, thanks very much for being there. But I was talking about having experience. And for me, that experience... Well, had we not had this pathogen, Kev, it would have been 900 this year. 900 weddings. What's enough? Is it 10, 50, 300 weddings, 75 weddings? Where does that credibility kick in?
900 weddings.
It would have been 900 weddings this year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
I'd have done
insane.
900. Yeah. Well, yeah. I always said that I'd stop at 1,000, but I'm not so sure I'll be able to afford to, Kev.
That's very rock and roll of you, isn't it? That's like I don't know, Mick Jagger said, "I'm never going to record again once I get my third number one."
But then, like Tina Turner, I'd probably do a stack load of comeback tours, but I wouldn't have her legs.
No, absolutely.
So, but what is that number? What's the credibility number? What's the index?
I really don't know. I mean, in my mind, I certainly. I had a lot of people asking me to do workshops and stuff in the relatively early days, but I refused to do any until I'd been shooting weddings for 5 years.
Right. Okay.
So, the wedding photography side of things. So
now here's a real honesty question, and I'm going to ask this because we're both redesigning our websites at the moment, both using Squarespace. Controversial, following the episode we did on websites. But the question I've got is, I've been writing down a little mind map of all the bits of the website and how they all will glue together. And I went to put down and it's interesting that this question should come up today. We spent a long time on this question, actually, is the training bit, the mentoring bit. And you've talked to me about this, and you've said you need to do more mentoring. And I've said, oh, okay, I'll get around to it. I was going to put up there mentoring for photographers who want to enter the wedding industry. And then I stopped and I thought, oh my God, am I kicking the legs out from underneath myself here?
Well,
because that's the crew that are likely to spend money at the moment. Not necessarily the wedding photographers already in it who are now screaming at me saying, it's all right, Neil, you've done your 900, then sell us all out. Or I'm talking about those that are thinking, I've always fancied doing a bit of wedding photography, and I'm going to need a second job now following COVID. Here's a mentor that's done a few weddings. Maybe he can teach me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I do it. I do mentoring. I've done a lot of mentoring, and yeah, it's always been for people. I will vet the people who want to do the long-term mentoring, and I don't mean to sound egotistical, but it has to be people who have ambition to run a good business. And typically, I'm looking for people who are. Being brutally honest here, going to be doing it full time or want to be doing it full time. I'm not particularly interested in the people who are likely to be, shooting weddings for 600 quid on the weekend and having a nice shiny income from a day job. I don't really want to, encourage that kind of thing, I suppose, in terms of business wise, because it doesn't help us in the long term. So not that they shouldn't do that, that's entirely up to them. But in terms of me encouraging them to do that, then that doesn't help. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just comes down to this ethical process, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that to sound stupid, because we do want to make money. We do need to make money from it. But, it's those fly-by-night ones. You see them all the time, on Facebook. The adverts that come up on Facebook especially. Learn to be a wedding photographer in 6 hours. What? Go away. Delete.
But there's always people that believe them.
Yeah, and it's always $19 reduced from 7,000.
What did P.T. Barnum say?
10 hours only. Discount. 10 hours only.
Discount.
And they got a little clock that's counting down.
Oh, no.
$19 only, reduced from $797 that it's never been, ever, in the lifetime as ever.
Okay. Right, James Littman to come in a moment, and we've spent quite a lot of time on that question, so we'll come back with some more questions after the interview. But I've got a couple of things here to point out. You may have some feelings about them. There was a one here. This is from a friend of the show, Phil Payne. Remember dear Steve Shipman? We of course featured his interview on this podcast, didn't we? Who passed away. It's 2 years since Steve passed, almost. Can you believe that? I cannot believe it's 2 years. But he has brought out a book, and it's called Micro Stories. And I've got a link, and what we'll do, Kev, if you don't mind, we'll pop that link up on the new brand new shiny website, so that you can have a look. It's a blurb book, and you can buy Micro Stories, which is a story really of Steve's I suppose later life really as a photographer. And I flicked through the preview, and I felt myself having a bit of a photographic education as I was doing so. So it's not the cheapest book, but
so these are Phil's pictures of Steve.
Sorry,
Phil curated Steve's pictures.
I didn't explain that very well, did I? No, Phil sent me the link because he was, of course, Steve's best friend, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And this is Steve's book, the late Steve Shipman's book. So yeah. I wanted to point that out. Maybe if I could send you that link, Kevin, we'll pop that up. And the other one was from Matt here. Hi guys, don't even follow the rumour sites, but Kev mentioned that he uses a Viltrox 85mm with his X Pro 3. It was just announced that the camera can be damaged or scratched by this lens. That was on Fuji Rumours. Did you know about that, Kev?
Yeah, I saw it. Made me laugh.
Did it?
Because I saw that I got sent that link about 1 million times.
Oh, right.
Approximately. Maybe 995,000. And it was essentially the Viltrox, because the Viltrox stuff is one of the first lenses that can use the autofocus system. And I had one. I still have it. The 85mm. I think it's f1.8. And the article was essentially saying that if you use it, it might scratch the lens release button on your camera.
Okay.
So, which clearly did not bother me in one instant. Right. However, I didn't read much more of that, but I presume that, potentially could damage the lens release button, which obviously you don't want. A little scratch here and there doesn't bother me at all, but I did see that.
All right, but it's nothing in it, or it's okay?
Well, it wouldn't stop me using it. Put it that way.
All right. Right. America. Have you ever fancied spending more time in America? And I know the political situation at the moment, notwithstanding, and COVID notwithstanding, but working as a photographer in America, I think what a place to go to photograph. Huge, expansive country, so much to make imagery, and so many things to see. And the wedding industry there is pretty vibrant, isn't it? In normal times, anyway.
I went to America. Have you ever been to America?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah.
I went on my first honeymoon with the first one in my beta life.
So, excuse me. What do you mean with the first one?
What do
you mean with my first wife?
The one that came before the current one, the one that's going to be for eternity.
Yes.
We had a 2-month honeymoon in America.
2 months.
Yeah.
My word.
Yeah.
Did you do a big tour of the country or something?
Yeah, it was great. We got married in December, I think it was. So we flew out to LA and we hung around there for a bit. Then we went up to, where did we go after that? We went up to Vegas. We did the usual Route 66 thing to Vegas and all that kind of stuff. Spent a bit of time there. We went to Colorado and spent New Year skiing in
my word,
somewhere or other. Then we headed east to Washington and Philadelphia. We ended up in Philadelphia, where we had relatives, and then up to New York, and then came back, and we argued for 2 months.
That was it. Actually, I'm going to throw up a 5-second timer here. I want you to give me the 3 most extraordinary landmarks you saw in America starting now.
Oh my God. My word, I don't know. We saw the big hole in the ground.
Look, you failed.
We saw the pictures, the big the things with all the monuments with the presidents' faces.
Kev, you spent 2 months and you couldn't name 3. Honestly. But you do remember the arguing.
No, not Malibu. Is it Malibu. In California?
Is that in California? I think it is. I don't know.
We went to San Francisco. Yes. Yeah, we went all over the place. Oh, I tell you, one of the things I can remember from that trip was we were in Los Angeles. No, we're in Las Vegas. Yeah. And we were playing pool, and this guy said, we got chatting to this guy, and he somehow managed to make us. He said, "You've got to come back to our house to see our car."
What?
His wife. Yeah, it was very odd.
Right.
And we did, because we were drunk. And so we went, we walked for seemingly miles and miles, way out of town.
So you were walking out into the desert with a stranger, drunk.
We went, and at that point, my first wife was like, I'm overly confident with this now. And I was like, yeah, it's okay. We'll just see. He was a nice guy. He did seem like a nice guy. Anyway, we went.
So did Hannibal Lecter.
we went round a corner, and he went, "Look," and it was a Mini.
Oh,
that was it. It was just a Mini, like one of the Minis, a car.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well," he's like, "Look, it's a Mini. It's like the only one in the whole of the state or something." And I was like, "No, it's not. It's really not. We've walked miles to see the same car we've got at home." So we went, man.
In their thousands, with your first. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Hold on, Kev. It's over there. Hello? Yeah, he's talking about her a bit, isn't he? Yeah. I'll let him know. Thanks, bye. That was Gemma.
Yeah.
Said, if you must talk about your first wife, please don't do it for more than 30 seconds at a time.
I'm not talking to Gemma at the moment anyway.
Why not?
Because she wants chickens. I'm not having chickens in the garden.
Oh, right. This is meandering just slightly. This shows that we've missed each other, doesn't it? Well, you mentioned a mini car. That seems like a good segue into James Lipman, who travelled from the UK to America, taking with him his extraordinary ability to photograph cars. And I think the interesting thing is his story about having moved his business from from the UK to America, and the way that he photographs, because we haven't actually, I don't think we have had we have had somebody who photographs motorsports, but we haven't had anybody that photographs cars as kind of a fashion item, if you like. So this is James Lipman. James, you get the enviable job of having that kind of career where you get to play with all the toys. So we're talking about cameras, and we're talking about lighting, and we're talking about supercars. Though I can't imagine it was like that at the start, was it?
No, I left school thinking I want to be a press photographer, and I went to do the NCTJ course in Sheffield, which I think a few of your other guests will have mentioned. Really good course, but I just wasn't very good at press photography. I just wasn't streetwise enough, all this kind of stuff. So I did a couple of work placements, and then I went to work for a newspaper called Metro in London.
I know it.
And I really enjoyed it, just kind of wasn't in it. And all the time I'm there, I'm seeing car magazines and thinking, I could probably do this. I probably would be all right at this anyway. So I got in touch with a few of the sort of, back then they had like tuner magazines for people that were into modifying cars. This is like the 2000s, if you like, and so I got in touch with a couple of those magazines, and a few of them gave me paid commissions, which is amazing. So did a couple of jobs for them. They were delighted with them. I really enjoyed it, gelled with it, and that was how I got into doing car magazines. It's as simple as that, really.
Are you a petrol head naturally then? I know you're into flying.
Absolutely.
I know you're into flying, but
yeah. I've always been interested in that. I got into that after the fact because it obviously is expensive, and but I've always been into cars from the get-go, and still am. And I enjoy everything about it. I enjoy what they do, as well as the fact that you can go places in them, and I enjoy working in them, working on them, and everything about them. I just love it. So
if you break down at the side of a road, you're a useful man. If you've got a wrench, you can fix it.
If you've got the parts and the tools, I will.
You're okay.
Probably, yeah. And if it doesn't involve lifting the car, then I think we'll be all right. So.
What do you drive, James? What's your car?
This is gonna be embarrassing. I drive a 1999 Isuzu Rodeo, which is a Vauxhall Frontera with a V6 in it.
This is
not a great car.
This is not what I was expecting.
No, not at all. I have an old Porsche. I have an old Porsche and an aeroplane, and in order to run those two ridiculous things, I have to drive around in a disaster.
No, you call it what you like. You started in the UK, then. We'll get to America in a moment. How do you? You started to build a portfolio. You got a couple of lucky commissions by the sound of it, which is fantastic. But then you've really got to start ramping it up, haven't you? How did the next part of that journey go? The career progression was I started in these tuner magazines, and as quickly as they were beginning to fade out, because the internet kind of ate into all that market, the bigger, more mainstream car magazines started to notice my work, and I started doing stuff for them, and then from there, manufacturers start noticing your work and hiring you to shoot their product. So that was the career progression. That took, I don't know, until from the start until I was working for the manufacturers was probably 6 or 7 years. So it wasn't like, it wasn't immediate. But I always kept doing the magazine stuff because I like shooting magazine stuff. It keeps your brain fizzing, and there's no briefs, and there's no approved angles or anything. You just go and do it, and I don't think I'll ever stop doing it as long as people will hire me to do it, if you know what I mean. It seems one of those areas, car photography, where it's untouched by 1,001 workshops, James. In wedding world, you got a plethora of choices touted around from people who've shot, a grand total of 10 to those that have been in it 4 decades. How on earth do you go about getting the knowledge in your game? Because photographing cars is a highly skilled genre. I mean, look at the lighting alone. You're literally dealing with a 4-sided mirror with some of these cars, aren't you?
I don't know. I think with everything you do in photography, you've got to photograph what you're interested in, and if you don't, it shows immediately. There's just no point doing it. You have to be. What's the Robert Capa quote? If your photographs aren't good enough, you're not close enough.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, which I heard someone mentioned the other day, and I just thought, oh yeah, I hadn't heard that in ages, and it's brilliant. And it's like it's close enough physically, and it's close enough emotionally as well. Like if you're not engaged with it, then you're not going to get good pictures out of it. And I think that for me was the thing with the press photography and then going into cars, was that new stuff, I just wasn't engaged with it enough to make the magic happen. Whereas the cars, I totally understand them and I love them, and it's I find it extremely easy to show that through my work.
How did you then start stepping into the studio? Because lifestyle shots and being out at events is one thing, but then you're going to start moving into the studio, and then you've got floating ceilings, haven't you, and all those kind of things to start dealing with.
Studio stuff is a lot of times when you're photographing cars, it's more to do with the environment than it is the actual car itself. And then when you go into a studio, then you're creating the environment that it's in, but you're also, what you're seeing is most of it is reflections in the shape of the car is dictated by the reflection of it. So you have total control over it. Completely different to shooting in on location. And how I got into that, it was just by force, really. I think someone came to me years ago and said, we need a car shot in a studio, and I went, yeah, I can do that. How difficult can this be? And it turns out it is extremely difficult. And I really enjoy it. My forte is location stuff. Always has been, probably always will be.
How does it work with a crew? Do you get a lighting crew, and then you're a photographer, and essentially you might even get a stylist, I suppose, for a car as well? I would imagine there's a fairly large crew on a shoot like that.
It completely depends on the budget. So when you do magazine stuff, no, it's often. Most of the time it's just me and a driver, and it's literally 2 people. And then if you're lucky, you'll get a third person, so you can do some car-to-car stuff, which is nice. And then when you go on bigger shoots like brochure stuff for car manufacturers, and the crew size is proportional to the amount of money they have to spend. And for me, this is slightly controversial, but it sometimes is a diminishing return. The more people you put on the job, the more complicated it becomes, the slower things move. And I've always enjoyed getting on with the job, not hanging around, not having to, there's 2 ways of doing this. You either do, one of the photographers that does 3 or 4 shots a day and everything's total precision, or you just get on with it and you chase moments rather than anything else.
A few years back, James, you swapped shores. You up sticks. You moved to America. It was going well in the UK, I think, anyway, wasn't it? Why the move? What was the fascination about living in the States?
Ultimately, it's the space here. Shooting in the UK is tricky because it's a small place, and I'm on the road most of the time, and just the environment you're in is quite small. And you come to the US and suddenly it's just limitless space and beautiful light, and crucially don't get cold and wet. And I've done 10 or 13 years of being cold and wet in my job, and just thought, okay, I'll have a piece of that. But I was coming here on work more and more, and it got to the point where I thought I would like to be there full time. That would be nice.
How did the green card bit work, though? Because getting the permissions to move across must have been a bit tricky, or was it?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. You have to. You sort of. They just want to see that you're at the. It sounds really awful, but at the top of your field. If you're good at what you do and you can prove it, then they will give you a fighting chance of working here, because ultimately they want to keep their economy, running with the best people they can. So that's what I did. They have a special green card for that.
And did you find the work coming in reasonably straight away, or did you really have to fight for it?
No, kind of. It was interesting because I moved from a country where everybody in the whole industry knew for the most part, knew who you were, and that you could do decent work. And you turn up in the US and it's like, so who are you? Why are you? Where did you come from? What are you doing? Why are you here? And it takes a lot. I think it felt to me like it took a lot more to convince people here, because I couldn't ever work out the reason, but I wondered whether it was something to do with the fact that it's very easy to fire people in the US. You don't have the employment protection that you do in the UK. And I think with the UK, people were more willing to give you a chance. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. Whereas here, if people give you a chance and it doesn't work out, their boss will just be like, yeah, don't do that again. By the way, you're fired. And so people are much more. I feel like people are much more protective of their own interests.
Do you feel personally now you've earned your reputation again, that people know James Lippman again, but this time in America?
No, I'm still working on it. Definitely.
And work to be done.
You always will be there. That's the thing with this game, isn't it? You always will be. You have to mark it, otherwise, you're just going to vanish off the face of the earth. So
I spoke recently with a top food photographer who said the worst day of his photographic life, James, was watching a weighted lighting setup fall across the table, dressed with food in a 2-star Michelin restaurant in front of the chef. Have you ever scratched the top mark, or I don't know, left a melted Kit Kat on the upholstery of a Bentley or something?
I don't know what to answer this question.
I want you to. You've got to answer this question.
Yeah, things happen. They just do, and I feel like, because I like cars, I understand them. I feel like I treat them very nicely. You don't wipe them when they're dusty and things like this. But no, I've had a couple of howlers, and had an assistant destroy a car on a job, which is not cool.
Destroy a car?
Yeah.
When you listen to the Top Gear guys talking about what they've done to cars and had to return them just the axles, I was wondering if that was the case.
I don't know if you've ever seen. They did a show where they played football with a load of I can't remember what the car was, Toyota Yaris's or something else. Anyway, and they're just destroying the cars in front of you on the screen, and Toyota are obviously delighted because they're getting airtime. I don't have that privilege.
No,
if I come back with a destroyed car, I'd be like, yeah. So, I mean, but to answer the question, by and large, no, I don't damage cars, and they go back to the manufacturers looking like they arrived. Yeah. But yeah.
Do you get to take the cars home?
Occasionally, yeah. And actually, it's kind of annoying because I, as much as I enjoy them, I also don't want them in my life. I just want to sort of do what I need to do and then give them back and not have to have the responsibility. I don't want to, drive around in them and lord it up. But it's a couple of just extraordinary ones. I had a car from Rolls-Royce who I work with a lot in the UK, absolutely love. And I love their cars as well. And we shot this car on the Isle of Man, and I drove it home after the shoot, and then it just sat in my driveway for a week, and it was a Dawn. It was 300 grand or something. I mean, it's just extraordinary. So it sat there, and eventually I phoned up my contact at Rolls-Royce and said, "Do you want this back?" And they're like, "Oh, you've got that."
Oh, they didn't even know where it was.
Yeah, I've got it. Oh, right, okay, yeah. We'll send someone to come and get that, and I think it was another 2 days before they come and got it, and they were so relaxed anyway, but it's just bizarre. And all the time it sat there and thinking, please move it. I don't want it. So yeah, and then there was, I had the same thing with the green Lamborghini that sat there for ages, and
unbelievable.
I would like it to be someone else's problem, right? Take it away.
How much creative input do you get? For instance, on your website, there's a sequence of shots. It's a Mercedes shoot actually, where the people are almost ghostly around the car. Lots of motion blur, with the car standing proudly against a backdrop, but it's static. Are they your ideas, or do the agency bring them to you and you have to execute their ideas?
No, that was shot for an American magazine called Car and Driver, and the car was secret, so it couldn't be out in public. And that building is I think it's the Mercedes Financial Center in Stuttgart. But turned up there, and no one even at Mercedes has seen this car. So the car's out in the courtyard. They pulled the cover on it, and the courtyard is surrounded by offices, and everyone in their office is like, I want to go and look at that. So this huge crowd of people descends on the car, and it's me and no one else. Me, the PR guy or PR lady from Mercedes, and no one else. And she's trying to get people to move away from the car, and they won't, because there's 200 of them. And so at this point, I'm like, well, I need to do something to make this work. And that goes back to my whole thing of not, enjoying working on my own and not with you. Because if we'd set that shoot up and decided beforehand it had to look a certain way, those pictures wouldn't have happened. And so I'm there on my own. I'm like, I need to make this something. So that was the end result. That was just my workaround. And it looked cool, It was something I didn't expect I'd ever get.
Post-processing. Do you do it yourself, or do you have a team of specialist retouchers that work with cars?
No, I mostly do it myself. Occasionally, I have other people do it, and I enjoy doing it. When I go into the shoot, I know where I'm going to be with the post-production as well, for the most part. Or as I'll shoot, it will become apparent what I'm going to. The Mercedes thing, as it went on, it's like, okay, I need to do this, and this. I just like the beginning to the end control over the whole thing.
How does the lighting work then for these shoots? I know we touched on the studio with the floating. I know you get the floating ceilings, but when you're out in courtyards, are you taking huge sandbagged strobe units or constant light source, or are you working with natural light? I'm sure it changes per shoot, but is there a general standard?
Yeah, and it changed when I moved to the US as well. When I was in the UK, because there is kind of, you don't get the consistency of the light. Well, you do get the consistency of the light, and it's just not very good. I put a lot of strobe into stuff to get the metallics to show in the paints and stuff, because you need direct light. And then when I moved to the US, I started using less and less strobe. I still carry it, but I don't carry lots of it. I have 2 Elinchrom, what they are, there's 2 of them up on the shelf. They're Quadras. And then if I need to go bigger, I carry some Rangers that it's the same thing, a little bit more powerful. But that's it for outdoors. That's the only thing for me that has the punch to overcome daylight.
And shoot through umbrellas or softboxes or just the bare heads?
Bare head, yeah, because the bigger you make that light source, the more it reflects in the car. A lot of people don't realise that, but it's not really. There are places for soft boxes and all that kind of stuff, but in terms of sheet metal, they tend to not really work. So yeah, bare bulbs.
And if you've got lots of reflection, which you're bound to, I'm sure there's some cars where you think, I just can't hide this reflection. I would assume you're taking that out in post-processing afterwards. No, you can always hide it. There is always a way. Okay. You can do it. But yeah, eventually, I mean, if you, it's more time, you can always hide it. But if you this is going to take ages to sort this out. I like to get as much done in camera. I'm old school. I like to get as much done in camera as I possibly can. But there comes a point of diminishing returns. Take, for example, like if you're shooting on a road and you want the road to be empty and you're waiting for traffic and then one car pops up over the horizon half a mile away. That's going out in Photoshop. And the same with reflections. If there's something there like a telegraph pole, bam, just get rid of it. And lens-wise, what are you stepping back from the car or using wide angles? What kind of kit are you using to capture these shots? Pretty basic stuff. I like 35mm for speed, and the quality now is there that, still, I mean, if for certain jobs you have to rent phase stuff and use medium format, but I find that really slow to work with by comparison. So for most of my work, I use a full frame 35mm DSLR, and I use a 28-70-2.8 and a 70-200 2.8, and I carry a 300 f4, and that is basically what I do 99% of my work on. You've cut the kit list right down, haven't you? For speed. Yeah. Because the more stuff I carry, the slower I work. I enjoy equipment, but I don't want it to be in my face when I'm working. I just want to think about what I'm doing and not have to deal with multiple options. Now, I'm not going to ask you for a favourite shoot, because that seems kind of a crass question. But there must be those shoots where you think, I'm looking forward to this. I mean, there was a real glamour shoot, which is on your website, with the James Bond franchise, Aston Martins of late. That must have been an extremely exciting one to work on. Yeah, that was years ago, actually. In fact, that was one of the last shoots I did before I moved to the US, and I've still got it on there because I just loved it. It was for Vanity Fair magazine, which is not a car magazine, not a magazine I'd ever worked for before. No. And they do a driving supplement, so it was for them, and it was really cool. It was just wonderful. But there's been lots of other. I mean, that's one, and I don't know. I don't really ever go and do shoots that I don't love doing. Even when the car's not particularly interesting, you end up in fantastic. You go to fantastic places and see fantastic things that you wouldn't ordinarily see. So they all have their own merits, Well, I was going to ask actually. Are you a terrible car snob? Are there those situations where I'm going to pick? I'm not going to put this car into your mouth, but if I was a car photographer and somebody said, "Well, look, you're doing an Aston Martin this week, then next week you're doing a Yaris." Do you find yourself? I'm sure you're going to say no, because your last answer suggests you're going to say no. That even a Yaris in the desert can look nice. Yeah. That's exactly it. And also that car will mean something to someone somewhere, right? Someone will go and buy it and be absolutely delighted with it. Mm. And there's nothing wrong with the Yaris at all. It's a fantastic piece of kit, right? So for what it does, for the purpose that it serves. So you've got to... I think there are photographers out there that are like, well, I won't shoot anything except supercars. And I think, to me, supercars can be as uninteresting as a Yaris can be to someone else, if that makes sense. Mm. It's like, well, it doesn't... This is not relevant to anything. I mean, they're fantastic things, but no, I don't. I think everything has its place. Do you go home each day just a little bit envious of some of the stuff you see? You think, I wish I had one of those. Absolutely not. You've got to remember the service bills on them, right? That's true. Yes, you can't. You have the $400,000 car parked in your driveway, and the service bill is proportional to the cost of the car.
No, absolutely not. No, I would. I'm sure if I would enjoy owning something very exotic, but I get equal pleasure out of my $2,500 Isuzu. It just doesn't matter, because to me, for quite a lot of what I enjoy about cars is what they bring to you as what they bring to the owner. Like, it's not showing off and this and the other, it's the utility of the thing, and the wonder of being able to just get in something. And I mean, as a device, they are incredible, aren't they? You get in it and it will take you pretty much anywhere on the planet, bar crossing a sea, which you can obviously put it on a boat and do. But people have driven around the world and will continue to do so, and there's not many machines in this world that will give you that level of experience. And I think that's the fascination of cars for me.
My thanks to James Lippman. Of course, we will put the appropriate links for his website and his work on the FujiCast website. Please keep sending your questions in through the contact form of the website as well, fujicast.co.uk. Kev, you were talking about chickens just a moment ago. And I know you say you're not going to have them, but usually what Gemma says goes, doesn't it, in the end? Really?
Not on this occasion, no. I am not having, no.
You're really going to put your foot down?
Yes, and if I have to put my foot down on those chickens, I will.
No, don't say things like that. You'll upset Boca Chicken, won't you? Yes, very unhappy. I want all the people who have chickens in their gardens to email Gemma directly and say what a bad idea it is. Boca Chicken, would you like to live with Kev? I know you would. He'd look after you, wouldn't he? Yes, I know.
I can see Monty now lying on the sofa dreaming of having chickens in the garden.
Oh, can you imagine that? I'd bring a fresh one in for you every day.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing I would say about having chickens, Kev, because we had them, it was I want to tell you a story which you can tell Gemma, okay? This will put her off. Have you ever heard of chicken mites?
Yes, that's the thing. That's the thing they get up there.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Mm.
You do, don't you? I know, it's not very nice, not very pleasant.
No.
Well, the chicken mites made their way from the chicken pen into the house.
Oh, no, that's it.
I am telling you, Kev. One morning they were in our bed, and like I'm telling you, it was just horrible, Kev. It was like, really. They get.
I'm really glad you told me, because that certainly. This is. Hang on. Right, I'm ready. I've just closed the case.
and I'm just. If you want to tell her this, it's true. They get up every crevice.
Does anybody want to buy a chicken coop?
Oh no, you don't already have the coop, do you? Oh.
Yes, of course we've already got the coop. That's how it works in our house. Things appear in the garden, huge things.
You are so getting chickens. You really are.
Hold up, this morning you and I were on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And did you not see the coop being brought through the house?
Oh, was that? Yeah, it was a huge thing, but that was the coop, was it?
Yes, exactly. So she waited till I was busy on a Zoom call with you, and then she disappeared out the house, and all of a sudden she came in with this massive bloody chicken house.
I'm sorry, you're done for. You've got chickens. And in 6 months you're going to have chicken mite. I feel like chicken mite tonight.
No. If we get chickens in this house, I'm going to go and live in my studio.
You can come here. It's a chicken-free zone here. Anyway, it's against your principles.
So I don't even eat eggs. Right. So I couldn't even have the eggs that they would presumably. Not that I'm never going to go near an egg now after that story you just said.
Well, no, I mean, they don't get chicken mites in the eggs, Kev.
No, but it's around that area, isn't it? It's the excavation chute.
Stop it.
You're quite right, Scott. We should stop it. Right, moving on. Let's have a question. Well, it's not so much a question, but a question from something that was emailed in. Matthew Rumbelow emailed in with some pictures of his first exhibition. There were a lot of emails over the last couple of months, 3 months, so you might have missed this one, Kev, I don't know. But hi, says, I've literally started listening to the podcast and love it. My friend Adam Featherstone recommended you. I recently put on my first public gallery exhibition in Stamford at the Arts Centre. which just squeaked in ahead of the lockdown. My friend thought I might be good interview fodder, as I suspect it's something many keen amateurs and professionals have thought about. Anyway, just a thought. It was great fun, a very steep learning curve. Not suggested as a way of boosting my profile, incidentally. I don't have one. It's still very much a hobby. From Matt Rumbelow, who's in Rutland. Well, Matt Rumbelow, I will be in touch, so thank you. In the meantime, Kev, a question. Now, I know you've had your stuff shown. I know that. Some big exhibitions, some big pictures as well, particularly in Tokyo. But have you ever organised your own exhibition?
Nope.
Anything that you'd be interested in, do you think?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, really depends, doesn't it? But one of the ambitions of doing the doorstep photos during the lockdown, or the back end of the lockdown, was that we might be able to do a little exhibition in the town hall here. But it hasn't really worked out that way. So probably won't happen. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, of course, who wouldn't want their work exhibited? Brilliant, wouldn't it?
It's a really good way of publicising your business. I remember when we were but a fledgling business. In fact, at that stage, I don't think I'd even... Maybe I had photographed a couple of weddings, but it was very, very, very early days of our photo business. And we, with a website, I don't know if they still exist, the Best Of franchise, but there was a franchise called the Best Of. So you have the Best of Malmesbury, Best of Bristol, So we had Best of Newbury. And I photographed lots and lots of business people. We did an open day, the Corn Exchange, where people could just wing by, and we did portraits of them. We did a couple of street portraits. I mean, it wasn't really in terms of having a format. It wasn't organised. So some of it was on white backgrounds, some of it was in the street. But it was a really good way to launch our business, because we were able to. We photographed about 100 people. And lots more than that came to the opening night. I tell you what, the mayor came along, the local MP came along, who opened it, and then proceeded to eat the box of those Posh Fox's biscuits up on the mezzanine floor. The two of them and their entourage just descended on them like locusts. But it was a really good way of starting the business. I just thought maybe that's as we emerge out of this, maybe an exhibition's a good way to. There's going to be exhibition space as well, isn't there, here and there? Yeah.
We have in Malmesbury. They have exhibitions a lot there. We've got a group here called the Malmesbury Snappers. they do a lot of exhibitions of members' works. Yeah. It's good. I always enjoy going to have a look at that.
It's interesting as well the amount of businesses. Restaurants are a good one that actually would let you put pictures on walls, because we used to do that quite a lot in Newbury. We to this day there are two massive canvases up at Indigo Bay, which is the fabulous Indian restaurant in Newbury. There's two. Well, there were last time I looked through the window prior to lockdown. Two thumping great canvases, sort of character ones where where featured the staff sort of going at each other with saucepans and stuff. So yeah, just a thought, just an idea. Question, Kev, have you got one?
I've got one from Ian Knight in Leicester, and he says, "Hi, Kevin Neil. Listening to the very interesting interview with Bert Stefani, Big Bert Stefani, who was obviously our last guest on the Daily." Yeah. He said, "I found it interesting about the situation where he acknowledged how good a snapshot from a mobile phone was compared to his own shot without editing." Yeah. He goes on to say, "Mobile phone cameras use computational methods to overcome their inherent limitations. Is it realistic for the manufacturers of DSLRs or mirrorless cameras to pursue this technology going forward?" He's right in that often you can just point your phone at something and it gets a good picture. You know, you don't need to worry. You can worry about things like exposure and stuff, but typically the phone deals with almost all of it. Yeah.
But don't look at them too closely when you blow them up large.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things on this, isn't there? I mean, when you take the average, if you look at the average mobile phone, there is a lot more processing power in those phones than there are in cameras. Typically, there's some of them have got gigs of memory and disk space for them to whiz around and process, and all the software that they need can be installed. So you just typically can't get that in a camera. Although I think, now I don't know which one. I have a feeling it was Sigma or somebody made a camera which basically had the Android operating system built into it.
Wow.
I'm not sure. I'm sure it was Sigma, and it was announced at Photokina a couple of years ago. I don't know whether it ever came to market. I'll look that up. But something along those lines. And of course, we've all heard of the fabled organic sensor that they're going to call it, the organic sensor. I don't really know what that means, but presumably it's a sensor that doesn't really have the difficulties with light sensitivity that traditionally we have. How, when, if that ever comes to fruition, I would imagine that we'll see a lot more stuff going on then. I personally think camera manufacturers should go down the route now of starting to think more about 5G and off-site kind of storage and things like that. That now we've got 5G coming, and the power that's going to bring us is going to be insane. Yeah. So I can imagine shooting a wedding and just having the pictures in Dropbox within seconds and writing a little script so it edits them and done and dusted by the time you get home. Imagine that.
Put your feet up, enjoy playing with the chickens a bit, couldn't you?
It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Kitchen. But that's Sigma things.
Stop talking about the bloody chickens.
Yeah, go on, you want to live with Kev, don't you? Yes, you do, of course you do. But that Sigma thing's quite interesting. I'm being a bit flippant with this, but can you imagine during those long speeches at weddings where, there's usually the best man where he thinks he's funny and he's rambling on for 40 minutes and everybody's lost the will to live, quite frankly. But you could be on your phone, couldn't you? On your camera rather, checking your email messages in the viewfinder whilst you're pretending to take an image.
Yeah,
that's a nice
way. Football Manager. I'd be playing Football Manager.
Yeah, no, not that I'm suggesting either myself or Kev would get involved in that kind of thing. Clearly. Right, one from Ray Harris. Hi Neil, hi Kev. It feels weird not hearing you during the week, but I'm glad you're back for the Mondays. I've been thinking of late how to really kickstart my enthusiasm again, since staying in has not resulted in taking 5,000 pictures of my family. I put the camera away like I think you both did. How do you intend to kickstart your mojo? From Ray. Have you kickstarted your mojo yet? I mean, I started with that wonderful invite for Cargay Collective. I started taking the camera out a lot more on my photo walks now, because I've thought of a story that I want to do for Cargay. But so I started doing, and that's been helping with my mojo a bit. I've been lingering longer on my walks now that I'm allowed to.
Yeah, I think, it's going to be a case of as and when we can start shooting again properly outside. And street photography, I've got a whole load of street photography workshops backed up that I've had to postpone. So they'll be kind of first on the agenda for me. But I'm still currently in the saving the business and trying to move it forward stage right now. Yeah. That's where I'm at. So and that's going all right. But that's important. That's more important for me right now. The website and various things.
When do you seriously think you're going to be out there photographing again? Putting aside, I know we've had so many conversations where he said, "Well, it won't be starting until January 2027." But
are you on about weddings or just generally?
Well, mainly that's what we shoot, Kev.
Yeah, but street photography. I thought the other day about popping up to London and doing some street stuff, but then I got frightened basically, because you can go out and
I thought there was a limit to the amount of miles you can make if it's not essential.
No, not in England. There is in Wales and Scotland. I think it's 5 miles.
Right.
Which means, bless her, I still haven't been able to see my mum and dad. She's desperate. Oh. Anyway, so I thought about, didn't have to be London, but somewhere. But I didn't want to put myself in kind of risk. It sounds selfish, doesn't it?
I get it. It's not selfish at all, because you put yourself at risk, then you, by extension, put other people at risk.
Yeah, true.
So not selfish. No.
Anyway, I didn't entertain that idea for very long. But it will come back. Of course it will, and I think we've seen some amazingly creative stuff going on, which is nice to see. I have to write an article by tomorrow, in fact, for FujiFilm.
It's like homework. Do you know
you're socially distant shooting?
You're the same as I was. Leave your homework to the 11th hour.
It's like when you.
How long have you had this assignment?
Not long.
What, a month? I bet it's a month. I bet you've had that a month.
No, it came in yesterday or the day before. Okay. Laura was like, "Oh, we need to get this up and running quick." I was like, "Okay." Right. But it was a little bit like when you're in university or doing your homework or A levels, and you got all your revision to do, and you decide to go and clean the oven instead.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Never cleaned the oven in my life. It's really important to do it the night before my revision starts.
In the next couple of months, you're going to have whenever you feel you don't want to do a project, you can go out and clean the chickens out. Oh, they'll be there, Kev, waiting for you, fluttering in the wind. They will be. So, what were you going to say then? Anyway, you're thinking about the chickens now. I kind of interrupted you with the mojo.
I'm not thinking about the chickens. I'm thinking of the things that live on chickens. So I don't think my mojo has disappeared. I have to say, it's the opportunity has disappeared, and I'm only taking what I would consider family snapshots of around the house. They're not stuff that I would think of publishing or anything, because I think that's the line, isn't it? That some people draw, it's not a line in the sand as such, but I think a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking every picture they take must be put on Instagram or must go on Facebook or has to be great. And it's not a vast majority of the pictures I've taken during this time are pictures that will never ever be seen by anybody other than us, because they're only for us. They're only memories for us. That's it. It's not a publishable stuff. And so I don't think the mojo is really gone. I just think the opportunity to put my mojo in something has gone.
I beg your pardon.
That sounded bad.
It did sound bad. Right, last question of the show, Kev. You can do it.
Okay, this is from Bartek, a friend of the show, Bartek Wittek.
Yes.
Polish man living in Ireland with the most beautiful accent. Do you remember Bartek from the party
he's
in London?
He's a lovely chap. A party in London? Were we allowed to be next to each other? I don't recall a time like that.
He's got this voice. He's next to your voice. I think he's got the best voice in the world. Anyway, he says, "Hey, lovely people. Listening to the fun conversations between you both, your family inclusion and fantastic interviews gave me a huge boost to many, including me. Thank you very much." And he goes on to say, "I was wondering if you are using any backup UPS battery backup power protection." Go on, say that really quickly.
Backup
UPS battery backup power protection. Backup UPS battery backup power protection.
Yeah, no.
And if possible, could you recommend some or invite a person that could talk about this more extensively? I was looking at introducing them to my workflow, but I have no extensive knowledge about power requirements. I was thinking about one larger to protect the iMac with an additional monitor and 4 external hard drives. Also a little one that would protect the router.
I used to have in the old studio, I think maybe the farm was susceptible to it. Maybe that's why I got into it. I had a bank of these things, Kev. And I was absolutely just, everything had to be connected to it. But I just got out the habit of using them and now use surge strips, which is probably not what you want to hear from a professional, is it?
Well, no, I think surge strips are fine because so Bartek is on about essentially if you get a bolt of lightning into the house and the power goes down. About keeping the computers running.
And they shut themselves down after, say, a minute or something, don't they? Safely.
Yeah. So UPS stands for uninterruptible power supply.
Yeah. Not the people that deliver all those packages that Sam keeps ordering online.
It doesn't really bother me. I have to say that. No? I mean, I have surge protection, so if we do get a bolt of lightning, then it doesn't come up the computer and blow everything up. But I'm not really that worried about kind of. I have to say it's really really weird because the other day I did have a computer. We did have a minor power cut, and so the computer went off. And it made me think a little bit about the way that I work now, and everything is in the cloud, literally. So even the document, I was working on a document at the time, or because I use the Microsoft stuff, it's every time I open a document, it's automatically saved to Microsoft OneDrive. Yeah. If I'm doing any coding, which I've been doing a little bit of, that's automatically saved to the cloud. The only thing really that wouldn't be, but could be because it's part of the Creative Cloud system, is photography stuff. Yeah. Lightroom, of course. Yeah, you might get a corrupt catalog, but that's recoverable. There was nothing really in the old days. My word, you could lose forever. When I was working professionally in IT, I spent more time pressing the save button than I did typing anything else, just in case.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're saying to Bartek, think carefully about why you need it. Yeah,
I suppose so. For some people, it definitely won't be overkill, but for others, perhaps it will. And as long as you're protected, as long as the iMac is protected from surge, then and surge as in the power surge, not some guy from Lithuania or something. You want to protect it, of course. Yeah. I think also there's something in my insurance document that says, because I have my computer as part of my insurance, because you should, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's something in the insurance that says it has to be running via a surge protector power plug thingy. They're relatively cheap these days.
Well, but the actual UPS though is not cheap, is it?
No. UPS wouldn't be cheap. No. And so I don't have one of those. And I honestly, it's not something that I consider that I need.
Right. Okay. Well, that's it. Oh, we did get an email through here, Kevin. I wonder what you think I should probably do about this thing. It's Dear Valued Candidate, you were recently nominated. This is both of us, Kev, by the way. As a biographical candidate for the next edition of Who's Who in America. We're pleased to inform you that the first phase of your candidacy has been approved. Click here to complete your profile. Should I do that?
Yeah. Do you want my credit card now?
I'm going to put that down there in the "You're having a giraffe" pile, which is beginning to grow. Well, it's lovely to talk to you again, Kevin. I'm really enthralled to hear that you're going to be getting some very, very soon in the house.
No, I would rather have a giraffe in the garden, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I've got to admit, now that I know what I saw going past your head earlier on today was actually the coop, and knowing how single-minded Gemma may be on this subject, on this subject, I think that Gemma's going to win.
She's not. Bye-bye.
Right. See, well, we may well be in the studio next week. I don't know. Together, that is. If you'd like to send in your questions, please, we really do need them. You are the lifeblood of the show. Send to click@fujicast.co.uk. I'm not used to doing this, the extra like we used to 3 months ago.
I haven't heard you say the lifeblood of the show for ages.
No, I know. Well, we stopped saying it. The other thing that we used to say, what was the other thing remind you of? Oh, yes, go to fujicast.co.uk because to see all the links for those people that we talk about. What else did we
remember
do?
the social in social media.
Remember the social in social media. And remember the chicken in the brand new chicken coop in Malmesbury.
And remember to vote for us on the UK Podcast Awards.
That's it. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, Kev.
Bye-bye.
The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.